All right, greetings from the Dark Continent. Conscious Caracal here, or Adams van Sail, here to shine a light on my latest documentary for AfriForum called Is Trump Right About South Africa? So the point of this stream here tonight is to discuss a little bit the contents of the documentary, the process of making it, and to answer your questions, because the only attacks against the documentary so far in the media are all behind paywalls. So I'm going to be doing a conversation where I answer your questions, not hiding behind a paywall. So get those questions ready. I'm also going to be looking into the content of the documentary itself, talking a little bit about the process. So there's a link in the description for those unaware. I made a new documentary for AfriForum. It deals with many topics, threats to private property rights in South Africa, farm murders, chants like kill the boer, kill the farmer, and the many race laws in South Africa. I talked to experts to help. My cat's making some noise here, so just ignore the extra ambiance here. There's also a nice high-felt thunderstorm rolling in. I think that's maybe worrying him a little bit. So when it comes to particularly, and then the topic of race-based policies, of course, and I talked to experts to get the right information, to actually provide you with the information to, at the end of the documentary, decide for yourself, judge for yourself, is Trump right about South Africa? Because for the past 2 months, there's been a lot of chatter. There's been a lot of debates, narratives, misinformation is the big new buzzword. A lot of panel discussions and interviews, but not a lot of people addressing that question, trying to answer that question: is Trump right about South Africa? There's a lot of these topics, or a lot of these discussions were about: is AfriForum committing high treason? Is the South African government going to fold or stand by its policies? The misinformation being spread by AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement, not really giving the examples of such misinformation, or why this is misinformation, proving that it's misinformation. It's now the 25th of March, which means that it's probably now about day 50 since Trump's original post on the 2nd of February, and day 50 of nobody being able to point out any piece of actual misinformation that AfriForum has spread about South Africa with evidence. A screenshot of a opinion piece, or a headline, or just a blog post, or screaming at the top of your lungs misinformation does not count as evidence. Just a little bit of a PSA there. I see people are trickling in here. The audience is growing. Decide Died says, "Alweer meneer." Higgins just gives a thumbs up there. And the Freighter Watcher says, "Good afternoon, evening, everyone. Please take a moment to thumbs up and share the stream." Thank you very much, the Freighter Watcher. And then Slippery Pickle says, "I'm not going to read that because I don't want a clip of me reading that." But noted. Stephanie says, "Hello." All right. So let's first start off with, why did we create this documentary for AfriForum? So over the years, and I see Emery here is saying, "Hello from the streets of Istanbul." Nice to see you also tuning in from far away, Emery. Can't stay for long today. No worries. Real life comes first, top priority. My stream will always be here. The replay will be available. You don't have to watch it live. Emery says we have some protesting to do. Oh yeah, because you're in Turkey. There's some massive news unfolding there. I'm not going to go into the details there. My audience can go check for themselves. Turkey seems to be in a quite chaotic place at the moment politically. All right. So why did we make this documentary? before just this interesting comments coming in. David Super says, "Hello from Pennsylvania." Hello, David. Thank you very much for tuning in all the way from the USA. So over the years, AfriForum and the wider Solidarity Movement have been publishing multiple world-class reports, hosting conferences, talks, having academic documents and discussions about the threat to private property rights in South Africa and the race laws in South Africa, farm murders, and the like. And we just realized we've already been doing this world-class work in that regard, but maybe we should shift gears and take this information that we've gathered over the years and present it in a new vehicle. So it's not the first documentary that AfriForum has made, but it's the first one of this nature where it is one quickly put together. It's not as long, it's not as detailed as some of our past ones, even though this one is very high in detail. And it's rather just an attempt to take all of that massive database of knowledge and reports and information that we've gathered over the years, our research department, condensing it into a 40, 50-minute video. And I think we achieved that to a very large extent. The documentary is intended for those people who are interested in these topics, race laws in South Africa, farm murders, chants like kill the boer, kill the farmer, threats to private property rights in South Africa, but people that don't have time to read a detailed 50-page report or to attend a conference, for example, on race laws in South Africa. And I talked to two major experts in their fields. Firstly, Martin van Staden, the head of policy at the Free Market Foundation, and also the researcher behind the Index of Race Law that documents all the race laws in South Africa. Highly recommend you go check it out. And Martin van Staden is the reason why we know today that we have over 142 race laws in South Africa. So, of course, I'm going to talk to him as a guest on this documentary as an expert. And then, of course, Theo de Jager, the head of SAI, the South African Agriculture Initiative, one of the largest farmers unions in South Africa that represent specifically the family farmers of this country. So, of course, he's going to be the foremost expert that I talk to on the Expropriation Act, threat to private property rights, particularly the private property rights of farmers. Theo de Jager I also chose because he was recently photoshopped out of a government document. He was on a photograph, and then the photograph that was published by the South African government, he was photoshopped out of the photograph, Stalin style. So, of course, I'm going to talk to Theo de Jager, someone who was photoshopped out of a photograph for his critical stance against expropriation without compensation and his critiques, relentless critiques of the Expropriation Act and the threats it holds for private property rights in South Africa. So definitely he's the man for the job in regards to talking to us about the threats to private property rights of the Expropriation Act. Gert Jansen van Rensburg sê, goeienaand almal, goeienaand Gert, lekker om jou te sien. Vehement says, good morning, good evening to you from South Africa, Vehement. Slippery Pickle says, 50-page report. Get behind me. Dagbreker says, goeienaand Adams, uitstekende dokumentêr. Dankie Dagbreker, ek waardeer dit. Ashley Engelbrecht says, checking in from Cape Town, but I have to go. We'll watch later. Lekker evening. All Adams, lekker meneer, keep it up. Dankie Ashley. Emily says, did you read the paywall News 24 piece? No, I'm not going to pay to read someone's opinion piece masquerading as a fact check. I've got better uses of my money, or rather like donate it to a good cause. But Buzz Lightyear says the documentary was excellent, Adams. Bye, donkey, Buzz Lightyear. Yes, it was the Department of Agriculture that photoshopped him out of the photograph. You're absolutely correct. Sideline Opinion says, if the EFF or MK attacks, criticizes the ANC from the left, no outrage, no fact-checking by MSM. But if AfriForum does the same from the right, the mainstream media gets their panty in and not. Well, that's how it works. I mean, Pieter de Tooy, the deputy editor of News 24 that wrote this latest hit piece on my documentary, he's written in the past month something like 4 or 5 pieces just about AfriForum, just ranting and raving, not really doing investigative journalism work as he likes to live action role play. Just his own, all his opinion pieces you can insert in the intro, Dear Diary, before you start reading, and it just fits much better. No, he's a bit of an obsessive. I'm quite worried about his mental health if he's just obsessing over a civil rights organization whose only real crime is saying don't threaten our private property rights, don't chant about killing us, and don't discriminate against us based on our race. Real radical stuff, real extremist stuff. You go get those fascists, Peter. You're going to get them one of these days. Tian Conradi says goeienaand van Eindhoven, Nederland. Hou vol met die goeie werk. Dankie Tian. Thank you for tuning in all the way there from Europe. You're part of the Afrikaner diaspora out there. An important component of the overall Afrikaner picture. You guys have still a very important role to play, specifically in regards to informing people about what's happening in South Africa, sharing documentaries like this with them, telling them that not everything is fine and dandy in South Africa, no matter how many beautiful pictures the top 1% of the top 1% post of their views outside of their houses and their beautiful gardens and them chilling next to their huge swimming pools. That was one of the most bizarre things that I've seen in a long time, where for the past 2 months, we are our own let them eat cake moment, where when Trump and the Trump administration started criticizing and putting pressure on the South African government, talking about really bad things happening in South Africa, the top 1% of the top 1%, specifically the top 1% of white South Africans, took to Twitter and Facebook and social media and TikTok to post mocking, smug videos and photographs of them like chilling in their mansions and in their beautiful, massive backyards that look like farms, to say like everything is fine. Look at these very bad things happening in South Africa. Let them eat cake. Very bizarre. Very strange. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that's not the experience for the rest of us plebs. There are very bad things happening in South Africa. Must be nice to have the privilege to be shielded from them. All right. Emery says, I find that when you piss the right people off, you're on the right track. Colleen says, not almal. The side died says, documentary was absolutely clear and easy to understand. It was perfectly done. Thank you very much. So this is also something I wanted to point out, is the fact that this documentary was not on the scale of other AfriForum documentaries. A lot of you have probably seen fantastic documentaries like Tainted Heroes by Arends Roots, Disrupted Land by Arends Roots for AfriForum. Those are like unbeatable quality documentaries. Like you'll be hard pressed to find better documentaries anyway. They are running with the best of them, but they have a massive team from AfriForum TV working on those documentaries, like dozens of people or a dozen people. This documentary was a 2-person team. It was me, not exclusively. There were other people that helped as well with organizing the interviews, setting up the sets and everything, but mainly 2 people did the majority here, or did a massive amount of work. Basically, me doing the research and the interviews, and afterwards, like putting the documentary together, not physically editing, but saying this needs to go here, this part can come out, this part needs to come in, insert this clip here, insert this clip here, insert this text here, insert this source here. But then the other person was Leandri de Klerk of AfriForum TV, who did all the sound, editing, everything. And she did a fantastic job. So it was us 2 that did the bulk of the work. And then, of course, a lot of other people as well doing their own little thing. But it was overall, in general, a 2-person team that made this documentary in the span of 2 weeks. So it was a very big time crunch. But in the end, I'm very happy. I'm extremely happy with how it came out, especially with the limitations and constraints that we were operating under. You'll notice that here and there's tiny little errors, like maybe at one point I know there should be a graph on the screen and it doesn't appear. At one point a clip should be playing and it's not playing. These are expected little errors if you're in the context that I just described. I'm not too bothered by it. It doesn't affect the content or the overall message of the documentary. But at the same time, I had one major priority with this documentary. There can be editing issues. There can be little mistakes in the aesthetic of it, the sound mixing, all those things. That's fine. There can be errors and little mistakes there. The one part of the documentary where we could not afford a single mistake, not even a little tiny micro mistake, was the factual content of it. So my mission was to ensure that the documentary is 100% factual And the facts that we are presenting are bulletproof and watertight. So that, because I knew it would be under a microscope as soon as it came out. And I think we achieved that. I'm very proud of that fact. So also something that we did with this documentary is we went out of our way particularly to back up every single claim very explicitly with a source reference. So you'll see every time a claim is made in the documentary, a source will either appear at the bottom almost like a little footnote on the screen, or the person making the claim will state the source of where this claim comes from. I think we actually went a bit overboard in regards to how many sources we included, but that was all the mission of making it absolutely bulletproof in regards to the facts being presented. Because you're being accused of spreading misinformation, propaganda, lies, again, with no examples or proof. But at the same time, when you're under that pressure, it ensures that you produce very high quality stuff. Because in the end, that's why it was so easy to get all of this data and all of these examples together for the documentary, was we had it already. Because when you're an AfriForum representative, you are going into interviews and it's going to very likely be insanely hostile. You have to have sources for every single claim that you're going to make. You have to know every single detail about every claim that you're going to make. And you need to be able to reference those sources and where you get your information from on the fly immediately. There's no room for error. That's the existence of an AfriForum spokesperson in this country. Because if you dare to talk about farm murders, if you dare to criticize and call the chant, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, incitement to violence, if you dare say that the Expropriation Act threatens private property rights in this country, the attack dogs of the regime will come after you relentlessly. And we've experienced that the past 2 months, but we've also experienced that for our whole existence as an organization. So we were prepared for that state of affairs. But that ensured that we had all these fact sheets, all of these sources already at hand, because we're always super prepared for every interview that we go into. So you have the facts, you have the receipts. So I could just take all of those facts. I don't have to go do massive research. I just take all of those facts and fact sheets that we already have and condense them into a documentary. AfriForum also has a fantastic research department. They do not play games, who help also with a lot of these facts and details to get them as high quality as possible. So that's, well, thank you, Decide That was just my comment there on a little bit of a tangent that I went on there. Dagbreker says the EFF keeps saying that their song doesn't promote farm attacks, but it's usually farm attackers that support the EFF. Have you ever heard the EFF condemn farm murders as wrong? Why did the EFF, when there was one of the largest anti-farm murders protests in history at Senekal in 2020, anti-farm murders protest, why did the EFF show up as a counter protest to an anti-farm murders protest? Many things that we should be pondering. Why, if this song has nothing to do with farm murders, was it sung in 2020 outside of a court case where the accused in a farm murder case are being tried and the parents of the dead farmer are sitting in the court, and the EFF are outside the court making the chant, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, close enough that the people in the court can hear? These are all questions that need to be answered. So Dagbreker, absolutely correct. Don't buy their propaganda. The EFF is just a hateful anti-white party. That's why they're so desperate with all these publicity stunts. Like, look, we took a picture with another white person wearing an EFF shirt. We are not an anti-white party. Yeah, sure. Keep telling yourself that. Kyle Rocks says, has Peter de Tooy considered going outside to touch grass? Well, he'll probably take a picture of his beautiful palace of a house and a huge garden and say, oh, there's nothing wrong in South Africa. Look at me. Look how fine everything is here. How can there possibly be anything wrong in South Africa? John M says, Kaapstad, 'n klein stukkie van die hemel op aarde. Hallo almal. Stefan Jakob says groete vanuit Zurich en wel gedaan met die dokumentêr wêreldklas. Baie dankie Stefan, nog 'n lid van die Afrikaner diaspora daar buite. I just said earlier Stefan, maybe you missed it, that especially now the Afrikaner diaspora has an incredibly important role to play in regards to getting the truth about South Africa out there, that yes, very bad things are happening in South Africa. Don't believe the state captured media. Yes, Elian Henstock says, please put up a link of the documentary you're talking about. All right. So the documentary is on YouTube. It's free. It's on the AfriForum YouTube channel. It's called Is Trump Right About South Africa? And there's a link in the description of this stream to go watch it. Thank you very much for the interest. Let's see. I'm going to read some comments before I continue, because this is a Q&A session as well. I wanted to give you guys... I wanted to do the antithesis of what the mainstream media is doing. So the mainstream media is attacking the documentary from behind a paywall. As I said earlier, I'm not going to be paying money to read an opinion piece masquerading as a fact check. So that's all on its own. But at the same time, excuse me, I will do the opposite. I'm going to take the public's questions, do a live stream live, so I can't, like, I don't know, if you ask a difficult question, I'll be stuck. I'll be like, no, damn, you got me. But I'm willing to do this live. We'll do it live. And answer your questions, not hiding behind a paywall. Absolutely free. You have total access to my mind to be able to ask me any question regarding the documentary that you want, even the most difficult questions that you can think of. Emery says, Adams, do not diminish the value of your other work, but this is your best in terms of getting the message across in a cohesive manner. Thank you very much, Emery. I really appreciate it. Dagbreker says, alles goed. Lowbrow Mkatkati says, oh, it's okay, everyone. I'm here. You've made it. Sometimes you're a bit late, but this time you've made it for a large portion of the live stream. The side diet is probably took forever to edit that masterpiece. Well, it took a few days for our editor. Like I said, it was a two-man team that predominantly made this documentary. You'll see, and in the span of 2 weeks total, but those 2 weeks we used to do the interviews, do the research, script, and get everything nice and situated and where it needs to be, gather all the clips and the legislation that we put in. Very flattered that you call it a masterpiece. It's I tried my best. As I said, there are small little editing errors in it, but that comes with the context of getting it out as fast as possible to get the truth out there. But where there are zero errors, as far as I can, nobody's been able to point any out, is in regards to the factual content. That is absolutely 100% correct as far as I can see. I'm still waiting for someone to point out any criticisms. We've had criticisms, but the criticisms have been screaming misinformation, okay? Saying that I dress like a news anchor from the 1980s, which I take as a compliment. I do think the 1980s has some pretty nice style, and especially the more formal style, the suits and ties that people were wearing that time. And I like my style. I'm not a slave to fashion like a lot of these journalists and elites. I wear what I like, and I like the clothing that I wear in this documentary. It's none of it's newly bought even. I think the suit that I'm wearing in the documentary, my father bought for me at a secondhand shop, but it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's stylish, I think, but according to me, I don't really care what other people think about the clothes that I wear. But that's the other criticism that I've seen, and that's it. AfriForum is evil. It's probably the third criticism that I've seen. That's it. Sideliner Opinion says the far left fact checkers in America also only fact checks Trump but refuse to subject Biden to the same scrutiny. Absolutely. Regime attack dogs. That's another opinion piece that I highly recommend people go read. Actually, it feels insulting calling an opinion piece because it's really not. It's a piece of fascinating and excellent investigative journalism. It's called The Information War Against AfriForum on Politics Web. That's the platform's name, Politics Web. And the writer is Marie-Louise Antoine, an investigative journalist. And it's a very long, detailed piece on exactly how the South African media manufactured this whole misinformation narrative around AfriForum and designated AfriForum as the public enemy number one and the scapegoat to give the ANC, to run cover for the ANC. Speaking truth, or speaking quotation marks, truth to help power rather than actual truth to challenge power. And in that piece, she has a great quote where she says, instead of being the watchdogs for power, a lot of these journalists and people in the media ended up being the attack dogs for the regime and those in power. All right. I also discussed and read the entire piece on my show. You'll find it on a live stream. It's also titled The Information War Against AfriForum, if you want to listen to it rather than read it. Little Skybird says the documentary was a major eye-opener for me. I sat there shocked at the truth, yet very grateful that the facts were clearly presented for the entire world to see. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Lowbrow says, if anyone has read Frans Fanon, they would know that the white hatred and lust for murdering whites is ideologically baked into the EFF. Dagbreker says, Becky Cele, former police minister, even sat next to Malema inside the court of the Senegal case when Lordsley was singing Bring the Fire Brigade outside of the court. Sideline Opinion says, why would it bother anyone that anyone else spreads awareness about any crime, never mind brutal farm murders? That's the thing. It's if you dare talk about farm murders, you are screamed at, you are mocked, you are called a liar, misinformation spreader, propagandist, every smear term that there is. But that doesn't happen to other activists. Activists that bring attention to gender-based violence, for example, aren't shouted down and told that, did you know that the vast majority of murder victims are men, not women? Therefore, your cause is illegitimate. No, that doesn't happen. Neither are like activists that try to bring attention to rhino poaching are treated in that type of way, where they're told like, are you aware that the majority of animals that are killed every year are not rhinos? Rhinos represent only a small percentage of all animals killed every year. Therefore, you're spreading misinformation about rhino poaching. No, that doesn't happen. But it happens if you talk about farm murders. And one of those questions you have to ask, why? Investing with Stefan says from Romania. Dankie Ernst. Stefan, is jy ook deel van die Afrikaner diaspora? Very nice to see. Little Skybird says video link. Yes, there's a link to the documentary in the description. Stefan says, telling everyone that's willing to listen about the situation in SA this side. Thank you. That does a lot more than you think in regards to changing the world. Going to watch it now, says Midnight Rants from home. South African living in Namibia. Does an Afrikaner living in Namibia count as part of the Afrikaner diaspora? That's an interesting question. Jan van Hunk says, do you have an online repository or database with primary source evidence for all the claims you get fact-checked for? Well, it depends. I mean, it's a bit impractical to put all of the things that we get fact-checked for like farm murders, land expropriation, land grabs, kill the boer, corruption, everything that we fight in all in one place. There's a lot of sources, but they're all over the place. So you'll find a lot of it on our YouTube channel, a lot of it on our website. So our website is full of reports. So if you go to AfriForum's website, www.afriforum.co.za, and you go to reports, you'll find all of our reports. They're highly detailed on all of those topics. So yeah, I think our website would be the best place to go look. But otherwise, if you are looking for any data or information on any of these claims, you can send me an email. My email is ernst.vanzyl@afriforum.co.za. So I'm putting my name on the screen. Let me just put it in the chat. ernst.vanzyl@afriforum.co.za. That's my email address. Send me your questions there. I'll gladly answer them. All right. Let's see. There are a lot of people at 126 people watching. Wow. Amazing. Tallulah Moon says, evening, everybody. North Sea says, good evening. Zach says, hi ho. The God King 117 says, Mr. Ron Burgundy. I don't see that as an insult. So Mr. Ron Burgundy, sure. I mean, I don't think I think I'm a lot less handsome than Ron Burgundy. But I mean, I'll take the compliment. Nog in Namibia, Pixel Warriors Africa says, Nant Adams groete van Namibia. People are tuning in from all across the world. It's fantastic. Emery says, Politics Web is awesome. I also just want to take a moment to thank Politics Web, little humble old Politics Web, alternative media site that has moved mountains, not just in the past 2 months, especially in the last 2 months, but over the past few years to expose the ANC, to expose the National Democratic Revolution agenda, to expose expropriation without compensation, to expose the lies about farm murders, to get the real facts out there, to expose the farm murder denialism out there. James Myberg and the Politics Web are doing fantastic work. I'm a proud supporter financially of the platform, a proud paid subscriber. I will gladly donate to Politics Web rather than News 24, aka ANC Pravda. Kulian says, thank you, Adams and AfriForum, for the brilliant documentary. I watched it yesterday and also grateful for having something to share with international friends who want to know more about South Africa. Well, Kulian, that's the point, is to create that source that you can share. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Globist man, I almost read globalist man. Any thoughts, ideas on making docu-marketing inroads to reach out to the moderate 80% of South Africa, especially those without internet? Those without internet is going to be tough. Maybe I'll talk to my friend and colleague Barend Ace, who is the head of intercultural cooperation and relations at AfriForum. He does the most interesting job that gets the least credit because no media house wants to touch his press statements because they're all positive and they all show positive intercultural relations and cooperation between AfriForum and other cultural communities. So nobody publishes his stories, but he does incredibly important work. Maybe I'll talk to him about that type of documentary. Let's see. Stephanie says, brilliant documentary. Bye, donkey, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. Emery says, I think Afrikaners living in South Africa, Namibia, and Perth do not count as diaspora. But I think Perth is far enough away to still be diaspora. But I mean, in Little Bloemfontein is what they call it, eh? Sideliner Opinion says, Martin van Staden does not get enough credit for the monumental research he has done to expose the ANC's reverse racism and race-based legislation. Just one little technical thing there. I don't believe in reverse racism. It's just called racism. Reverse racism is like it's a redundant word. It's just racism. Race-based policies. Yes, Martin van Staden, fantastic researcher behind the Race Laws Index. Here's the reason why we know South Africa has 142 race laws. Up until that point, people were guessing, people were doing little sums of their own. But Martin did the work. My cat's here now to come say hello. Martin did the work to actually ensure that we know South Africa has over 142 race laws, 116 of which are new since 1994. Wow, big question. Almost like an entire episode worth of question. In your opinion, what is the ANC's end game? I'll keep it very simple. To remain in power. That's their end game. Not to help anybody, not to uplift anyone, to remain in power by any means necessary. That's what they're using the government of national unity for. It's not an end. It is a means to return to one-party rule that they enjoyed for 30 years since 1994, up until 2024. Too Cuddly asks, have they made any serious attempts to shut you down? There's not a lot they can do without really exposing themselves to the world. There is currently a high treason investigation into my colleagues and AfriForum. That's something that's happening at the moment. So I think when that news broke, I made the comment that I think the ANC has now officially transitioned from being panicked to being terrified. We're not having any sleepless nights about that, by the way. But it is an attempt to intimidate their critics. Very good, very, very good question. Very difficult question. Tian Foyun asks, what do you think is the reason behind the mainstream media being so one-sided on the current situation in South Africa? I think there's multiple reasons. The one reason is that a lot of them are true believers, as in they believe the ANC's BS. They believe the ANC's lies. They do believe the ANC are like, when the ANC say they won't touch private property rights, these people genuinely believe them. When they say that they're a non-racial party, but they have 142 race laws on the books, these people believe them. When they say kill the Boer is not about murdering farmers, they believe them. I genuinely get that idea that there are some of these people that just, they're naive enough to believe it. The type of people that you can sell a beach house in Bloemfontein to. And then there's also the people that are narcissists. So the journalists that are genuinely just, and like comment class, that are genuine narcissists. They believe themselves to be enlightened, and they need to enlighten and fact check for the masses, the dumb, stupid, like idiotic mass, hateful mass, racist masses out there. You really get that impression where they're just, some of them, like someone like Pete Kroukamp, literally just says in an interview, like he thinks he just thinks people that don't think like him are dumb. People that don't agree with him are dumb. The other day he was lamenting the fact that not a lot of people agree with him anymore. That means to him that everyone is being radicalized to the right wing because they don't agree with him anymore. But he's holding on to these outdated, just destructive ideas. So yeah, I think it's predominantly two factions. The one faction that genuinely just are true believers in the ANC's rhetoric and promises, and then the other people that are trying to virtue signal how enlightened they are. They can see the real 4D chess that the ANC are playing. They're not as barbaric and stupid like those Boers at AfriForum. That's what they want to signal. That's why they always use this phrasing, ons is nie almal so nie. We're not all like that. To distance themselves, saying, we are the enlightened ones. We see the world as it is. We are the big brain brigade. But no, you're just a puppet. You don't really think for yourself. That's why they constantly change their views, and why they have to like shut down their comment sections and hide behind paywalls, because they can't take real criticism. Here I am, open to the public. Anyone can ask me any question. I'm ready for it. I can answer any question. But they're not. There's a third group of people as well, and that's the crocodile feeders. And James Myberg of Politics Web wrote a fantastic piece on this as well. I think it's titled "How Minorities React to Attacks." Let me just see, because it's so good. I want to direct your attention to it. Yes. So it's such a good piece. It's called Flight, Freeze, Fawn, or Fight: How to Interpret Minority Responses to Racial Nationalist Aggression. And he's talking about the ANC there. Fantastic piece. I'm going to put it in the description. And in there, he also posits a very interesting theory where he says there's another group of people in the media, the crocodile feeders, who believe that if they appease the ANC, if they play along, they will not be eaten, which is a idiotic strategy, but I mean, they can try. Anyway, they think that they will be safe. Lowbrow says, why can't I find the term white genocide when I search AfriForum's website? It is only a term used by disingenuous activists to muddy the waters and invade the arguments around farm murders. Yes, AfriForum does not call farm murders a white genocide. At the same time, that doesn't mean that farm murders is not an incredibly serious issue, a serious issue that deserves serious attention. There's this weird idea that farm murders will only be worth caring about if they amount to a genocide. Really? Like, it's such a disingenuous, immoral argument. It just shows that there are people out there that are desperate to find any excuse not to show a shred of empathy for farmers, and particularly white farmers and Afrikaners. Very hateful people. bad people. But I mean, that's what I've encountered it so many times. Good heavens, just don't let me show any empathy to it, be seen in public showing any empathy towards a farmer. Just for the love of all that is good, just don't let me be seen in public showing empathy towards Afrikaners. That would be so embarrassing. Those people exist. The Freighter Watcher says, I remember when there were 25 of us watching. Yeah, the audience has grown phenomenally on this channel. I'm very glad. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Welcome to all the new viewers who gladly joined us. If you like these types of analysis and conversations, you can subscribe. And if you're watching and it's no longer live, you can also take part in the conversation in the comment section. As I said, I'm open to questions. Put your questions in the comments. I'll reply to as many as I can. Kale Rock says, things I know, computers and style. As one of the best dressed guys in every room I'm in, I can confirm Conscious Caracal does indeed have great drip. Thank you very much, Kale Rocks. I really appreciate it. Oh, man, it's the most bizarre thing, these comments. The people saying, like, my opinion is invalidated because I don't wear Metro Man clothing. Investing with Stefan says, Adam, so you're planning to do another documentary? Definitely in the future. I've done one other one. It's an Afrikaans documentary called Selfbestuur. It's on AfriForum's YouTube channel. Selfbestuur, one word. Let me just put it in the chat. Selfbestuur. And that documentary is about the solidarity movement and Afrikaners and building state-proof solutions for the future. It does have English subtitles, so if you're English, you can still watch it and follow along. That was my first documentary, and I'm very proud of it. Neil Pretorius, goeie ou vriend van my, sê wel gedaan met die dokkie RE, perfecte timing en baie hard eating. Moes 'n breek vat. Ja, there's a lot of long weekends in April, so then I will be taking a break. I have not taken a break for the past 2 months, but that's the nature of this job, fighting for the truth. But I love what I do. Dave says, good evening, sir. Goeienaand, Dave. Decide Diet says, after the documentary was posted, have you had any death threats or increase of them? I have had death threats. Increase of them, it's this little slow burn in the background. If you can't disprove someone, threaten them to kill them. Those types of sad individuals. I want to support you, but what exactly do you want? Well, don't give money to this channel. This is just my hobby. I like shining a light on what's going on here in South Africa. If you want to give money to a good cause, you can become an AfriForum member if you're not one already. There's a link in the description where it says how you can support AfriForum. Follow that link, become a member. Rather give your money there. Don't give your money to me as a YouTuber. I do this for fun. It's my hobby. Maybe I'll buy a better webcam sometime. But rather become a member of AfriForum. Link in the description. Elon Musk is 100% correct. Tian Foyun says Elon Musk it is because it doesn't fit their narrative that whites can be victims. Absolutely. That's one of the other pieces of propaganda that's been bombarding AfriForum. It's like, you guys are spreading a white victimhood narrative. I'm like, can white people not be victims of anything? Is it impossible for white people to be victims of brutal murders, of torture, of racially discriminatory laws? To be the victims of government rhetoric that scapegoats and villainizes them? That's quite a white supremacist take to say that white people are just immune to all of these things. We're these supreme beings that you can just do anything to, say anything to, and it just bounces off of us because we're like these half godlike people. I don't believe that. I believe white people can be victims. A victim narrative is when you let that victimhood define you, as many South Africans allow it to do. That's the root of an inferiority complex. Afrikaners do not have an inferiority complex. We also don't have a superiority complex. We just have a healthy self-confidence, a healthy self-image, which Afrikaans, you'd say, a self-built. It's normal to have a healthy self-image, not a supremacist view, or an inferiority complex. A lot of South Africans have an inferiority complex because they let their victimhood define them. You can be a victim without letting your victimhood define you. That's one of the stories of the Afrikaners, especially in the 21st century. Being victims of racially discriminatory laws, being the victims of farm murders, being the victims of government rhetoric that scapegoats and blames them for every single thing going wrong in this country. This applies for white South Africans at large as well, not just Afrikaners, English white South Africans as well. But we don't let that being a victim of these things being a reality, we don't let that define us. We don't let that define our character. We don't let that define what we think of ourselves. We don't let that define how we view the future. That's the difference between being a victim and having a victim mentality. So the criticism that Afrikaners and white people are perpetuating a white victimhood mentality or narrative is just not true. White people can be victims of many horrific things, but we're not letting that define us. Yes, support Aaron's via AfriForum. Thank you very much. I'm reading the comments because your comments are very high quality. Not that they're not every time that I do a stream, but I'm really liking a lot of these comments and responding to them. Lowbrow Takati says the news media trades on its access to politicians, so they will carry water for those politicians for such access. They also think they're smarter and better than the smelly masses. Absolutely. And here I am. I'm not preaching to you from like an ivory tower. If I could have you all in the room with me right now to address you, talk to you, and interact with you, I would. I'm just using the internet because it's not possible to talk to you all in person at the moment. But I don't view you as like the masses out there, and I'm here to educate you and tell you how the world works, and I'm going to enlighten you. No, I'm just giving you my perspective on things, reading your comments, reading your questions. A lot of people in the audience often make points in the chat that I've never thought about. Bring attention to things that I didn't know happened, or points that I haven't considered. So no, I don't. You're absolutely correct. A lot of these journalists think that they have to enlighten the masses, but that's also why they fear the comment section, because then all these barbarians, all of you uninformed, stupid people, as they view you, will come into the comment section and attack them and harass them. Basically, in other words, ask them difficult questions. And then they realize they're not as smart as they think they are. And these stupid little bumpkins, these stupid barbarians, these dumb boers that they keep shaming are actually not that dumb, are actually quite smart and are asking very smart questions. Then it gets very awkward for them. Sideline Opinion says, hit the like button, subscribe, and share to support this initiative. Thank you very much. So here's the opinion piece that I put in about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fantastic, by James Mayberg. Emery says, you are very accessible. I wonder why the other side never come and talk to you, whether in person or online. If I can get to have a chat with you, it should be fairly easy for them to. Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to having a chat with these people, even if they spread lies about me. I'll debate them. But they don't want to have a discussion, because then they will be exposed, and then they'd rather live in their little bubble and snipe from their little bubble. I'll talk to anyone. Armor of Truth says, we put out an article for you on our Substack called Armor of Truth. Thank you for your work, from the USA. Thank you very much, Armor of Truth. Can you do me a favor and send me a link to your article to my email address? Let me put my email address on the screen again. AfriForum.co.za. I type like like someone that got computer lessons, which I did. I grew up in a generation where there was still a very strong lag in technology between South Africa and the United States. So when computers were already normalized in the United States, South Africans were still going for computer classes. I was one of them. To like, how do you use the mouse? How do you use Word? How do you use Excel? How do you turn the machine on and off? It's not a scary thing. So I'll put the email on the screen right now, Armor of Truth. Please send me a link. I'd love to read your piece there. adams.vansail@afriforum.co.za. Send me an email, please. I'd love to read your piece. Man, I can't keep up with the comments. Oh no, I can't answer. Too difficult. When I meant ask me difficult questions, I didn't mean that difficult. I don't mind pineapple and pizza. It's not my favorite, but I'll eat it. I'm not a very picky eater. I'll eat pineapple and pizza. Crystal Smith says, as a man with who also cultivates a beard, I can confirm Corin Caracol has a great mustache. Thank you very much. Dirk van Niekerk says, do you think the ANC wants America to sanction South Africa so they can blame AfriForum Afrikaners? It goes into the realm of speculation, but if you indulge a little bit of speculation from me for a moment, I do think their worst nightmare is what AfriForum is demanding, and that is that party politicians, those politicians pushing these radical policies are the ones that are sanctioned. The politicians, the corrupt politicians, and those pushing destructive policies are the ones that are targeted by sanctions. They fear that because they know that will ruin them, because then they can't have access to all of these luxury goods. They can't go to the prestigious international events, etc., etc. But I think if they would rather want the whole of South Africa sanctioned, so that, well, they will blame AfriForum because they will use us as a scapegoat, but rather they will also want that because then they will have a convenient excuse for saying, well, look, we tried our best to improve South Africa, but we were just destroyed by sanctions. That's what the Zimbabwe government did. So yeah, the ANC doesn't care about the population of South Africa. Very clearly not. Investing with Stefan says, trots Afrikaner, selfbestuur klink goed. Ja, gaan kyk my documentaire met die naam, selfbestuur. Emery says, based on his recent statements, do you regret talking to Benwell? No, I don't regret talking to anyone. Benwell can make whatever statements he wants. I'm not deleting my interview with him on my channel. I'm not going to ask him to remove my interview on his channel or my 2 interviews on his channel. I think those are good quality interviews. I think the content in them are pretty nice. It is pretty nice. So no, I don't really regret it. I'll chat to him again in the future if I want to. But yeah, he's been making some very strange comments. He's difficult to ascertain where he actually stands on issues. Let's see. Investing with Stefan says, asseblief, wat dink jy van Ernst Roet se pionier-initiatief? For the sake of our English audience, I'm going to ask in English. Answer in English. He asked, what do you think about Ernst Roet's Pioneer Initiative? Ernst Roet is a very good friend of mine. I'm very excited to see what lies ahead for him with the Pioneer Initiative. There's still a lot of things that need to be revealed, so we'll see. He has done some Q&As on his YouTube channel, but I think the big announcements of whatever form his new initiative will take, that's going to happen somewhere in the future. But I mean, he left the Solidarity movement on good terms. I mean, we're still good friends. He has a lot of good friends within the movement and AfriForum. And I see us working together again in the future. There's a lot of gossip and rumors out there, just baseless in regards to why he left Solidarity and AfriForum. A lot of those rumors coming from people like Peter de Tooy, the fact checker that we talked about earlier, just writing these Dear Diary opinion pieces about what he thinks happened behind closed doors. But I can confirm that Ernst Roet's left on good terms, and there will definitely be a cooperation between him and the Solidarity movement again in the near future. That's almost certain for me. I can't really think about what needs to happen for that not to happen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what he does. I'm very excited for him, secondhand excitement to see what Adams does with his new initiative. New Pretoria is luckily our kind is very, very resilient. Afrikaners is kan nie dood. Ons raad altyd. Armor of Truth says, maybe I missed it, but are you open to moving to the US under the Trump resettlement program when it becomes available? Me personally, no. My roeping, my calling, my God-given calling is here in Southern Africa with AfriForum and the other organizations and individuals staying behind, and those who can't or will not leave. It doesn't mean I'm going to shame or attack or guilt those who do choose to leave. That's a very personal decision that everyone makes for themselves. My personal decision is to stay. My family has been here in South Africa for 9 generations. I'm the 9th generation since 1688. God put me here for a reason, and I've unfinished business and work here at the southern tip of Africa to help my people and to help Southern Africa in general, the peoples of Southern Africa in general. But yeah, there will be people that accept that resettlement option. Best of luck to them. I don't think that option should be off the table. I'm glad that Donald Trump, me and AfriForum at large, welcomes all the assistance that Donald Trump and the Trump administration has put on the table for Afrikaners. We're very grateful, especially for just the acknowledgement of Afrikaners as a community rooted here in Southern Africa with legitimate concerns. Let's see here. Offense says it's unfortunate that SA mainstream media refuses to see the good work by AfriForum. Yeah, well, it's deliberate ignorance. I mean, you can just search AfriForum Joint Agriculture Initiative or AfriForum Intercultural Relations or AfriForum Tabanshu or AfriForum Barulongbu Saleka tribe. There's so many instances of AfriForum building bridges across different communities, different cultures. AfriForum assisting other communities. You can search AfriForum assists black farmer in land grab. There's so many examples, and it's just doesn't make the news because it's inconvenient, doesn't sell papers, doesn't drive division. Gert Steenkamp says, ek is baie trots op AfriForum, hulle is reg. Ja, Trump is reg, 100%. Nick Miller says, no, sê mense, hello Nick. Math Physics Nerd says, does AfriForum have a branch or sister organization in the US? I'm tight on money, would love to volunteer some of my time. Unfortunately not, but you have the right idea. I would recommend you find an excuse me. I recommend you find an organization that does good work in your community, whether that be cleanups, whether that be planting trees, neighborhood watches, anything, any organization doing good work locally in your community. I think you should get involved. Doesn't have to be an AfriForum or related organization. I think you will be able to find organizations that do good work, and absolutely volunteer makes a big difference. Feyenoras, what are you reading at the moment? I'm one of those people that can't read more than one book at a time. So I'm currently reading There Is No Supreme Constitution by Professor Koos Malan. Fascinating work, fascinating mind, fascinating guy. Dagbreker says, lol, it's very jarring when the 6'6" tall Burki, rough around the edges, rock hard calluses on his hands, starts to talk about Julius Caesar and his conquest on Gaul. Bengal says, late joiner here, ahoy. Hello, Bengal. Man, there's too many comments. Lowbrow says, any plan to chat with Sticks again? I will gladly chat with Sticks again. I just have to, I plan my guests one at a time. I don't have like a massive roster where I plan far into the future. I'll talk to him when it fits the zeitgeist. Gavin says, hi, Conscious Caracal. Just watched your interview with Joe Emilio. Amazing work you guys do. Thank you very much, Gavin. Yes, this afternoon I did an interview on Joe Emilio's channel, and I would recommend people go watch it. I talked about the documentary and just some of the attacks against AfriForum. Had a lot of fun. Joe's a good guy, good friend. Zach says, Arans, will you ever invite Katlego, Bernice, Maugi, aka Citizen Concern, to your show at some point in the future? She's very good with facts. Sure, I don't know a lot of her content. I'll have to go check out, but I have been recommending, I think you've been recommending her for a while as a guest. I'll definitely put her on the list of people that I consider in the future. Yes, I'll answer this one. Oh, wait, no, there's just duplication in the chat. It's not you duplicating. It seems like the chat has just copied itself for some reason on my screen. Lowbrow says, ek bly, ek bou, 'n gelofte is 'n gelofte. Armor of Truth says, understood. Thank you. Your help is certainly a blessing for your nation. Thank you very much. Ernst, what are you growing in your garden? Monkey Mans is asking the right questions. So what am I growing in my garden? I'm growing at the moment some, pepperdews that I got from my mother-in-law. Fantastic stuff. I planted an avocado tree the other day, planted a peach tree. I planted an orange tree. I planted a lemon tree. I planted a lime tree. And I want to dig a massive compost hole or compost heap that's sunken into the ground. That I also need to do. My vegetable garden, since we moved into a new place, I haven't given it enough attention, but I will as soon as I fit. New place, a lot of new challenges and things that need to be fixed. As soon as I fix a lot of things around the house, then I will I'll get to my vegetable garden. I've already cleared a piece of land for it, or a piece of ground for it. Just have to get to it. But at the moment, I'm growing some pepperdews and some spinach. And as I said, all of those fruit trees. Hendo says 132 likes. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. That's fantastic. JP Kuhn says, I wonder what facts Peter de Toey will use to disprove your statements made in the documentary. He'll probably just call it AfriForum is a right-wing organization. He'll just scream at us being right-wing liars, Donald Trump fan. He uses Donald Trump fan as probably as an insult. Probably do something like that. As I said, when you read any Peter de Toey or Adrian Basson opinion piece, start it off by just inserting Dear Diary, and then you read the rest. Makes it a lot more entertaining. Not that I think a lot of my subscribers and audience are actually subscribe to News24 to read everything behind the paywall. I don't understand why you would. Paying a subscription to News24 at this point is pretty much like paying an additional tax, seeing as they're just the government's mouthpiece. So I don't know why you would subject yourself to that. But if you do, add a little Dear Diary in front of the opinion pieces and makes it a lot more fun. Sue Sykes says, Ernst, my kind of garden. Yes. Slippery Pickle says, I demand a Saturday, Sunday gardening with Ernst YouTube channel. Maybe I'll do that when I get my my English is running out now. My vegetable garden, when I started, maybe I'll post more regular updates on my X. Sue Sykes says, love pepperdew, so expensive to buy in the jar. Yeah, don't buy them, grow them. They're very easy. Buy them whole, so you get them with the seeds, life hack, and then you plant the seeds, because you can't buy the seeds. For some reason, the seeds aren't for sale. Chris says 153 likes. Fantastic. Yes, give us the gardening channel. Maybe. You make a strong argument. Valerie Cooper says, hi, Ernst and viewers. Hello, Valerie. Yes. Yeah, the website that just, the news publication that couldn't determine whether Jan Braai gave a man a boerewors role or not, just launched an anti-disinformation unit. Sounds about right. And he says, have you done an interview with Ronaldo Gous, and what are your thoughts on how he was treated? I was on Ronaldo Gous's channel 3 weeks ago. Go to his channel and see. I think it's under live or maybe videos. I don't know if it was live or pre-recorded. I did an interview on his channel. Horrible how he's been treated. Crystal says, I still want that Adams van Zyl versus Steve Hofmeyr Age of Empires match. Maybe one day. Oh, very, very tempting. I do love some Age of Empires. Lowbrow says, old men in the shade of trees, something. Oh, well, it's a cliche, but it's true. Ricky Stein said, I didn't know News 24 still existed. Alma of Truth says, BE sounds like DEI here in the States. 156 likes and 12,500 subscribers. Fantastic. Bell pepper seeds available last at Seeds for Africa. Yeah, bell peppers. But then pepper dews is that's the good stuff. That's what I'm growing. But you're right. You can find them. Bell pepper seeds are easier to find. And it says, hi all. I really want to encourage my whole audience this year to plant at least one tree. I think that it's a fantastic activity. It's good exercise, and you're planting something for the future. One of the friends of the Afrikaners in the United States that we met when I visited last year said that the fact that Afrikaners are still planting trees tells you everything you need to know. Too Cuddly says, do the gardening. The politico gets politically exhausting, so I actually suffer from victim fatigue. Yeah, I'll post some gardening updates on my X. I know no Sticks posts like gardening videos on his channel, but I don't think I'm there yet where I'm going to be doing that. But maybe I'll post some more regular updates on my X. Zach says, Adams, your mustache looks like mine, except yours is more hairy. Thank you. Colleen says, living seeds in clip view have a nice range of heirloom seeds. Great. All right. Guys, I think that's where I'm going to end it. Just going to make sure I don't have anything else that I wanted to mention. No. All right. Thank you very much for everyone that tuned in. If you haven't, go watch my documentary called Is Trump Right About South Africa? It's free to watch on YouTube, not behind a paywall. The facts are there, fully transparent for everyone to see. Go check it out. It's on YouTube. There's a link in the description as well. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. You guys have been fantastic tonight in the chat. Leuven Janssen van Rensburg says, last time I found pepperdew seeds at Bryanston Organic Market, but I haven't been back in a long time. Yeah, they're very difficult to find. Lowbrow says, pepperdew sweet pecan pepper seeds can be bought from Simply African Seed Company. Thank you. But as soon as you have those fruits, then you can just constantly be planting them, the seeds, over and over again. All right. There's too many other comments coming in now, but I'm unfortunately not going to be able to take more questions. Dave says, like slaap almal, no, a bit. Stephanie says, thank you, Roekat. Sideline Opinion says, cheers, Ernst. Keep up the good work. Mooi loop. Thanks, Ernst. Ernst, farming is a series of lessons in humility. You only get to harvest when you're constantly praying. And also, Slippery Pickle, it's not just as simple as putting seeds in the ground. It's actually incredibly difficult. Who would have thought? All these people saying that the anti-farmers out there thinking this is an easy thing. Try planting some vegetables in your backyard and you see how difficult that is, just on that small scale. Peter says, Ernst, what is next after this one, Obut? I don't know. Maybe another documentary later this year. We'll see. But for now, I'm very happy with this one. Kurt says, mooi loop. Arm of the Truth says, keep up the great work. Thank you for keeping on topic. I think I just found my new channel. Thank you very much, Russell, new subscriber. Very glad that you tuned in and that you subscribed. We must pray for South Africa. Yes, please, Yuan. Pray for South Africa. Pray for those being discriminated against. Pray for those being attacked on their farms and those being scapegoated and blamed for everything wrongly. Zach says, gardening is a form of farming, Aaron's a true boer. Yeah, well, Dirk Herman, my solidarity movement colleague, always says, every Afrikaners are so close to farming that if you are not yourself a farmer, then you have friends a family that farm, and if you don't have family that farm, you have friends that farm. I mean, that's why a synonym for Afrikaners is boer, which literally just means farmer. And Dr. Vickers Buys says that there's a reason why in English you have a backyard, but in Afrikaans you have an agterplaas, a back farm. Yeah. Right. Colleen says, dankie Ernst, baie almal. Like how this turned into a gardening session. Daredevil says, I can't even grow cabbages in my back garden. I can't believe commercial scale bloody cabbage worms. Appreciate farmers. Those guys are moving mountains so that you can eat. Monkey Man says potatoes are one of the few things you can get away with just planting them and possibly getting some decent results. Yes, but even potatoes, they get all types of blight and diseases. Everything is difficult to grow. It's edible stuff. Sideline opinion says, I love gardening. My neighbor calls me a frustrated farmer. Indo, 175 likes. All right. That's it now. Daredevil says, huge thanks to the farmers. En Chris says, Fluit, my story is uit. Yes, Fluit, my story is uit. Tot ziens almal. Have a fantastic evening. Stay safe out there. Go watch my documentary. Share it with everyone. Share this chat with everyone if you think it is worth it. And thank you for everyone that's been supporting AfriForum and myself through the past 2 months. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you're not an AfriForum member yet, become one. I really recommend it. Go to the link in the description, become a member, and we're thankful for it. All right. PK says, you guys do great work and it's worth spreading. Thank you very much. All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good one and God bless.